Hello, my name is Stephen. I live in Sydney, but I'm originally from Wales in the UK. I identify as a gay man.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm from China and I identify as a gay man. I grew up in a city in northern China and I came out as a gay man when I was 12 years old. It was really challenging at the beginning to my family. I was locked up in my house, forced to go to school and be picked up by my dad every day, and lots of ways to try to control my behavior and my thought. So coming out at a very young age was probably one of the most difficult tasks I've experienced in my life.
I grew up in the countryside in Wales in the UK. Coming out as gay was quite difficult. I came out at 17. I think everybody knew that I was gay even before I did. But I always felt like I was sort of hiding. And when I came out at 17, I sort of left home and moved to the city. And I think it was the first time that I ever sort of lived truly as myself and I could stop hiding. I was 23 when I learned that I was HIV positive. I went for an STI check with my partner that I'd been seeing for 6 months. And it was just a routine screen just so that we could stop using condoms. It was all a bit of a shock. I didn't expect it at all. But yeah, it was 2 weeks after the test. I got a phone call from my doctor, and they told me that they had some bad news, and they told me over the phone that I was positive for HIV. The first person I ever told that I had HIV was the guy that I was dating at the time. I had to let him know that my test results had come back positive, and I had to check whether his had as well. He was negative, and I was incredibly terrified. But I told him that I wanted to break up with him and that this was a burden that he didn't have to face, and that I was more than prepared to go through it alone. But he was absolutely beautiful, and he told me that he loved me, and he really took care of me in that moment. The next big hurdle for me was sort of telling my parents that I was positive. They hadn't been all that great with the news that I was gay, so I was a bit scared about telling them. Actually, it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my life, telling my parents that I was living with HIV. But they were absolutely beautiful, and they really stepped in, and they hugged me, and they told me that they loved me, and they told me that there was nothing that I could do that would never make them proud of me. So that was really beautiful.
I relocated to Australia when I was 19, and the first couple of years I spent a lot of time to adapt myself to this new environment, especially culturally and in the language wise. And I was quite lost as a young gay man to try to fit in a certain community. And 10 days after my 21st birthday, I received a call from one of the clinics in Sydney, and they told me they wanted me to go in and have a chat. And then I went there and they told me that I was positive. To live with HIV in 2016 is a very different story as if we were living with this condition 20 years ago. The physical health is no longer a major threat. With the medication we have today, we all know that we can live our lives as long as before, and we could be healthy just like anyone else who's negative. But the major concern, I guess, is how we maintain a strong mentality when facing our diagnosis.
Living with HIV in this day and age is actually really simple if it was just the virus that we were talking about. I'm on treatment, which means my viral load is undetectable. I know that I'll never pass on the virus to anybody else. And I know that I'll live a long, healthy life. As long as I take my medication every day, everything's fine. One of the biggest struggles about living with HIV today is the stigma surrounding it. I think I was incredibly terrified when I got the diagnosis that I would have to go back to living in a closet. I grew up in the countryside in the UK, and as a gay kid there, I felt like I had to constantly hide who I was, not be too flamboyant, not be too gay. And when I came out at 17, I felt like for the first time I was living who I was and who I am, and I didn't have to hide anymore. And getting that diagnosis was terrifying to me because I thought that I'd have to go back into that closet. But actually, I'm really lucky because I have some great friends around me. I have a great community around me. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been in my life. And I'm really pleased and proud of the work that I do in supporting newly diagnosed guys living with HIV, so that they don't feel isolated, so that they feel supported, and so that they know that they can live a long, healthy life and never transmit the virus, as long as they're on good treatment.
Well, I found it difficult to answer this question because I haven't had a long-term relationship for a long time. But I guess it comes to the point to how do we introduce ourselves to other people in our community. I don't think HIV has been the major reason to stop me from getting a boyfriend. But I guess to some people, it would be difficult to disclose your status. I guess this comes to the point about how we introduce ourselves to other people. Disclosure, it could be one of the most challenging thing after you have the HIV, but you must understand if you can't disclose your status in this day we're living to your potential partner, maybe this person is not the right one for you, and they are the ones who need to be educated about this topic.
There's a lot of educating that goes along with living with HIV. When you first start dating a guy or when you hook up with somebody, firstly you have to disclose your status. And depending on how much they know about HIV, you then have to sort of educate them about what it means to be undetectable, that it means that transmission is incredibly unlikely. And also you have to deal with their preconceived ideas about what HIV actually is. If a person says that they're clean on dating apps or internet chat rooms, meaning that they're HIV negative, there's an implication there that I'm dirty because I'm living with HIV. And that sort of just perpetuates stereotypes about the type of people with HIV or what HIV is. I'm just as clean as the next guy. Hooking up with people while I'm HIV positive isn't that much different to hooking up with people while I was HIV negative, if I'm honest. This time around I have to tell people that I'm living with HIV, but I also get to tell them that I have an undetectable viral load and that risk of transmission is almost impossible. And I take that incredibly serious, and I know that I will never transmit the virus to anybody else. So yeah, I have just as much fun living with HIV as I did before I was living with HIV.
I think young gay men should not be scared to get tested. To get tested and know your status, you get a chance to start your medication early if you were exposed to HIV. And that means you are going to live a healthy life just as anyone else. And to get your HIV under control means you're not going to infect other people. And by doing that, you are contributing to our goals within our lifetime to see the end of HIV.
Checking for STIs is really simple, and my advice to young gay men would be to test once every 6 months. It's great for peace of mind. It's great to be connected to services as well to make sure that you're employing the best practices to practice safe sex. And if you do get an STI, they're really simple to treat, but it's better to know so that you're not passing them on to your casual partners.